Okay, so I'm Maria Logis, and I came to singing in a very indirect way. I was diagnosed with a stage 4 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma 20 years ago. And through a kind of very complex story, I wound up in a process called music therapy. But in music therapy, I started to sing and to express lots of feelings that were related to my illness. That led to my meeting a very unusual woman who thought that these improvisations I should sing them, and I should do a concert, which I found very, strange, given that I was a corporate executive. And once this woman started me on this ball that was rolling, she then pushed me for a second concert and a third, and then said, now you have to find a singing teacher, because the music therapist you're working with is not a singing teacher. And I guess in the beginning I thought maybe he was. I didn't know. So it was soon after that I met Deborah. And something very incredible happened in this process. Because before I met Deborah, I went to several other singing teachers because I was supposed to find a singing teacher now that somehow I was creating songs. I had to learn how to sing. And when I met Deborah, she was more interested in who I am and how I can be more myself. So she was interested in freedom. And the other teachers I met were interested in something else. I don't know what to call it. A product. Maybe a product. It needed to sound like this. And that wasn't what she was interested in. And it felt like a tremendous release and a relief to have somebody who was interested in me and what it was maybe that I needed to express. The cancer diagnosis I spoke of earlier went into a partial remission without any treatment. But I was on kind of, we don't know how long this is going to last kind of situation. So I was walking on eggshells for many years. And each time I would check in with the doctor, they would say, this might last another month, it might last 6 months, we don't know. You have to come in, we have to do tests, we have to follow you. P.S. It's lasted 20 years, so it's a long time. In the meantime, what has happened with these singing lessons? Suddenly, there are songs that I create with the music therapist being created in music therapy, and I'm learning how to sing them in my singing lessons. So now I have two threads that are completely compatible with each other and are interested in me. What is it I need to say? What is it I have to say? What is it I'm going through? So that becomes a really important thing, to have this process, to be in a process of saying who you are, singing who you are, expressing who I am. I would say that's the story in a quick nutshell. So with Deborah, it's about 17 years. So, it was a few years after I was diagnosed that I met her. Again, I'd like at the instigation of my instigator, who said, you have to find a singing teacher. You have to find an appropriate singing teacher.
So what year was that? In what year?
Oh, I'm not going to remember the years, but let's say about 17 years ago. So whatever.
Okay, so let's start there. About 17 years ago, and then complete that, just so that I have that information.
Yes.
I think it's really important.
So, yes, about 17 years ago, I met Deborah. And we started singing lessons. What's interesting about those is right from day one, it felt like something completely different than anything I had tried, and I had met any number of singing teachers. It was a little more hands-on. And there was a lot of paying attention to me and not pushing me to do anything specifically, but to let go. And so I have learned in these years of working with Libero Canto that the most important thing I can do is breathe and express. That's what I can do. If I do that, I become more connected to myself. And the product will come. The song will come. The song will be there. But I just, I let it go. I say, I sing, and I have a sense of relief. So what happened in some of the early lessons was I started yawning. Like I would be yawning nonstop. I'm so embarrassed. I was yawning. No. She said, no, that's a very good thing. It's great that you're yawning. Great. Well, we love it. I was like, you do? Yeah, it's wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Keep yawning and keep singing. Well, that's a big relief, to be able to and sing. It's wonderful. You feel great. Your jaw just loves it. You don't realize how much tension is in your jaw right here. All of you out there. Everybody. What's interesting to me is, you talk about this idea of freedom, but what does it really mean? I mean, to me, I would come to a lesson. Okay, I'm going to be free. Okay, I'm going to be free. I yawn. But something else is going on inside. Something is bothering me. Something might have happened that morning, the day before, and I'm worried. I'm upset. Somebody hurt my feelings. Anything. I'm frustrated. And Deborah hears that in my singing and says something like, let those feelings come out. And something changes when I go, I'm letting out something else now. That could be a sound like that, or it could be in an exercise. La 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 la. But maybe I have a feeling. La 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 la. Maybe it's something else. Comes out. And I feel, she can hear it. Somebody else might not. I might not even hear it. But I know that something that was maybe sticking here or sticking here is not sticking there anymore. It can be put, it's out. It's out. So I guess that takes me to the next thing, which is judgment. How am I judged? I am a person that judges myself pretty harshly, often. In this process, this singing process, that goes away, the judgment. And I'm encouraged not to do it myself. but to concentrate on singing your own truth, whatever that is at that moment. So it's a big deal because I'm always thinking, what's the mistakes I made? It should be better. Why can't I do that? And it's not what happens here. It's not what happens in these singing lessons. The less judgment, I would say in this case, the judgment is down to 0, the more freedom. So that's how somehow it works like that. Less judgment, more freedom. Oh, you mean I can really just whisper? Can I whisper? Yeah, you can. Or you can scream, ah! Whatever. Or you can try to make something pretty. In fact, no trying. Just make whatever it is. So I have a lot of songs that have been developed in my music therapy. Those are all improvised with the music therapist. But then they get written down, and now I have to learn them because they might have been improvised, but then singing them isn't the same thing. So I have to learn them. So there you can make a mistake, right? You can sing it the way it's written or not. I like to sing it the way it's written, once it gets written out. I like to be able to distinguish between a quarter note and an eighth note, So then I have to develop musicianship skills. So what happens in these singing lessons for that? It's really interesting. The approach is about being able to hear the musical line clearly in your mind. So Deborah works a lot with your imagination. So I might hear the musical line. Hear it played or hear it sung, but let's say played. Then I imagine it. And then I replicate it. Maybe I get it right, maybe I get it wrong. It doesn't matter. We repeat the process. It's like, this is a process. It's not, I did it, you're supposed to get it. So I've been working these last few weeks on this line from one of my new songs. Oh, ho, ho. It was hard to get. But by playing it, my imagining it, and then singing it, I get it. And I get the difference in the length of the notes, where they come in the measure. All of those things, all of those musical details. So my skills as a musician increase. Makes me very happy.
That was wonderful. And I want to make sure that we're clear that you're actually writing the songs yourself, or in collaboration
with the music therapist. They're created, we improvise them in a music therapy session.
Okay, so let's just say that so that we have that on the record in a full sentence.
Yes, so I'm in music therapy. I have been from the very beginning of my illness. And in music therapy, we improvise. That happens to be the way that this music therapy process works. They also record everything. And we might be improvising for 15 minutes, and somewhere in the middle of that could be a song. You see? So the whole 15 minutes isn't a song, but there might be 3 minutes of song. that's what then gets picked out and gets written out. So, ho, ho, ho happens to be something I improvise, but now I have to learn it in order to be able to sing it. Something that's really interesting is how does Libero Canto and how does Deborah, in working with me, encourage me to be more free? So you could just say be more free, but that doesn't do it all, right?
Sorry. I think it's time to show the
Oh, stop.
And actually, do you mind taking it out and then moving it just slightly lower?
Like right there?
Yeah, right there. Yeah.
And bring it in a little bit so that it doesn't show.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Sorry about that.
How's that? Just go testing.
Better.
Maria?
Mm-hmm.
Testing, testing.
How's that? Okay.
We can test it.
I like how you're giving examples as you go.
Biggie, yep. Ba-doop-a-doops. All right.
It's really good.
3A.
All
Toop,
right,
toop.
so take 2.
So, freedom. I'm interested to share with you how Libero Canto and how Deborah specifically works with me to encourage more freedom. So one of the ways is hands-on, right? She'll actually put her hands on my back, on my shoulders, which are like rocks, my chest, and just very gently massage me while I'm doing my singing. I'm singing and she'll gently massage me. Oh, well, I feel such a relief being massaged and being touched in that way. I begin to sing more openly. Sometimes we use imagination. Sometimes she'll say, well, why don't you go out there and make believe that you're the barker at the circus. I said, the barker at the circus? Yeah. And here I am singing a really sad song as the barker at the circus. And then it works. All of a sudden, I'm like belting it out there. But I'm not pushing it out there. That's the difference. I'm just like, I put myself into this. I can imagine it. I imagine that. And then I don't let only the emotion of the song take me to a place of sadness. So I have a song called If I Were Not Alone As I Am. So it's a lot about being alone and imagining what it would take for me to not feel so alone. So when I sang that song often, I would start to go into that place. Well, that's a way of closing down. And you want to be opening up, both to the feeling, but also to the, for me, the joy of singing. So maybe we did that song. We probably did do that song as the barker. Maybe we used other images, other kinds of characters, maybe a very, a sexy chanteuse or a little kid. Nya. If I were not alone as I am, and it becomes a much lighter thing. So those are some of the ones that occur to me, using imagination, physically getting moved, allowing my body to move, walking around, singing and walking around, not having to stand in one place, just in a kind of performance mode, but to walk around and to, with that, experience just life. It makes a big difference in all, and I just never know what suggestion she's going to make. well, you want to try this. But in making that suggestion, it's up to me to take it or leave it. Because a suggestion might come my way and she'll say, if it doesn't sound right, feel right, forget it. If you feel like trying that, try it. So I would say, I guess 98% of the time I do. But there have been one or two where I didn't want to do it. And where I did something else. That was good too. I learn a lot from that. And that reinforces you're not being judged. That reinforces that, because for a person like me, probably for lots of people, I'm always looking to see, how am I being judged? Because this is the teacher, I'm the student. And to actually believe you're not being judged is pretty phenomenal. Yeah, okay.
That's good. Would that be a good segue? I mean, I don't actually know much about your career, before, you know, your corporate career and what you were doing before. I mean, before I met you, I think you had retired already, right? When did you retire?
Well, I was working part-time for a long time, so.
Okay, well, I've known you, I think, for 10 years now.
Yeah.
I'm just curious if this would be a good segue into what you were talking about, Deborah.
Do you want to talk about, your
Sure, let
I
me
mean,
cover that.
corporate
And
is obviously not the main thing, except as a context of where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Okay.
But then, like, all the CDs and the performances and like,
Yeah.
where this has all led you,
yes,
Yeah.
okay.
far beyond what you could originally imagine when Janet said, you gotta do a concert, you gotta find a teacher.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and if there's any connection in there in terms of judgment or not.
Right.
Or lack of, you know, like in those contexts, how either you bring the approach into it or you came from that, or I don't know, if there's a connection there as well.
So I worked for many, many years at Con Edison, which is the utility in New York City. And I was the general manager of human resources for the whole corporation. It was a job I was very, very good at, that I liked a great deal. And the cancer diagnosis was a real, knockdown punch for me. I was very, very busy at work then. Very busy at work. I would, for me in my career, I would work on an average of 60 to 80 hours a week. That's what it was like. I chose it. I liked it. But that obviously limited other things that I did in my life. So the illness, I mean, I didn't give up all those hours, but, over time I was seeing this music therapist, and then I started this singing, and then there were songs in the singing, and then I was supposed to learn the songs, and then I was supposed to take singing lessons, and another path started to open up. And at some point, I realized I couldn't keep going 60, 80 hours a week at work. I could not do it and give the music its time. The music was like pushing things. And I switched to working part-time on a consulting basis. That was very satisfactory for me because I kept my world, but not with all the responsibilities. And I bought a piano. I was taking singing lessons. I met all these musicians. They were writing out the songs, and it was a miracle that there would be another song and another song and another song. And I was invited to make presentations at a variety of music therapy conferences because I had this whole story. And from there, I, as part of an organization called the Creative Center, which focuses on women with cancer, I became involved with them I was involved in some of their a theatrical kind of presentation. And I was doing that with a whole bunch of other women who were in the same boat I was in, who they were all in recovery from cancer. They were all survivors. And I was encouraged in that process to do a performance of my own story with my own music. And the Creative Center offered me a venue. You do it here. That was my first theatrical performance. Any number of people at various conferences said to me, gee, you should do a performance. You've got a whole story here. You should do it. That moved on. We did a second performance at a theater, and then a third one at another theater. I did one, again, with a complete rewrite and new songs with the Fringe Festival. So I kept moving along artistically and musically, learning more and more about music and learning something about performing. So now I have 2 CDs that I've made. I have lots of concerts. And after the first play, then I did a second play that had something to do with my Greek roots and about Greek immigrants and refugees. And now I'm working on a third play. Again, had something to do with my Greek roots and with how the furies inside of us attack us, how we actually attack ourselves. So that's a little bit how, from this little seed of starting to work in music therapy, has grown to be able to have this body of songs. I've got more than 100 songs. I've got a lot more than that. And learning each one and continuing to perform. So I mentioned my non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, the stage 4. Years later, I was diagnosed with a second cancer.
One sec. Just want to remind you to totally normal, of course, to move around with your eyes, but then to land on.
Oh, you.
Remember to land on these.
Okay.
You know, to move and then land.
Yes.
Right, you know,
Yes.
for just the continuity, it helps when the viewers are listening.
Yes. So a number of years after I was diagnosed with the non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, the stage 4 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, I was diagnosed with a second cancer, thyroid cancer. And for that, I had to have surgery and have my thyroid removed. It turned out to be a really complex surgery. There was all kinds of stuff tied in. And the surgeon did everything he could to remove what he had to remove. In the process, he damaged or beat up the nerves going to the vocal cords. And for almost a year after that, speaking and singing were very tough. At that point, I had been working with Deborah for a long time, and I asked her to please come with me to see the doctor who specialized in the voice. And we met with him, and he showed us what my throat looked like, and she talked to him, and I talked to him, and he really assured us that she told him also how she approached the singing. He said it sounded great to him, and I would be fine, but it was going to take a year. So now we had to deal with me coming in croaking for about a year. She turned that into an opportunity. That has happened many other times too, when I came in with a cold or something, taking a negative and then accepting it fully as a reality. This is the reality right now. How do we deal with it? And how we deal with it is by embracing it. Come on, we're going to embrace you, and working with it. And I found myself going to deeper and deeper levels of musicality with that. That was amazing, rather than just say, look, forget the singing lessons for a year. No, we could work with this. I come in, I have my throat scratchy or something. No, we can work with that. In other words, we can work with everything. If you have a physical, something stopping you physically, or if it's something emotional that's stopping you, we can work with all of that too. I guess I should say that the non-Hodgkin's lymphoma went into remission and stayed in remission by itself without any treatment. The thyroid cancer, I had the surgery, and now it's in remission also.
Good, thank you. That's really important. Wow. I love that. I really love that. What are you thinking where we want to go now?
Yeah, we could do the stop again, and just the thing we just talked about.
Yeah. So the thing I just said
We
was
can keep rolling. Let's just.
Oh, you keep rolling. Go ahead.
Yeah.
to make the connection not only is the whole performance development
yeah.
a miracle unto itself,
Right.
but that it's also a sort of intensification of the same process of gradually being more and more present and open and being heard as you truly are and so
Right.
as in the lessons.
Yes. I remember very clearly in some of the early music therapy sessions, and one of them in particular, singing, almost crying out, finding my true voice, finding my true voice, finding my true voice. Could I find it? Could I find my true voice? So I had a voice in my corporate world. It represents something of who I am, but there was something else that I needed to express. And that's what has happened in the music therapy process, and then that got supported in the singing lessons. It's part of the basic libero canto philosophy to find your true voice, your true self. That's what this freedom is about. That's what singing is about. So singing allows me to find and to be my true self. So what does that turn out to be for me? Well, all of a sudden I'm singing. I sometimes sing about the thing itself, finding my true voice. But now sometimes I'm singing love songs. Sometimes I'm singing songs about the moon. I have a song where I ask the question, what would happen if the moon went away? Semi-scientific. I'm singing songs that are funny. My doctor told me I have to walk 3 miles a day. So I started to sing a song about that. Ay, 3 miles a day, how am I going to do it with the snow and the sleet and the cold and the ice and the wind? And then when I walk, whenever I don't want to walk, I sing my song. Helps me get out there. So that's who I find. So specifically for me, what I find out is sometimes I do things that are funny, and sometimes they're sad, and sometimes they're just lovely, just pretty. Something that's about beauty.
I love that you sing that song to help you get out the door. About the walking 3 miles a day.
Oh yeah.
I love
It helps me, yes. Yes, because the end of that song is, keep me willing. Keep me willing to walk 3 miles a day. Keep me willing. And that's the most, energetic part of the song. It's like, keep me willing, keep me willing.
And while you're walking, are you singing?
So very often, yes. very often. But you see what I've learned from all these musicians that I work with? They're playing music in their heads 24/7. John Coward is the piano player I work with. He's never without music in his head, ever. So that's a different life than if you're in a corporate world and you're planning projects and you've got steps, and that's the kind of thing I was used to. So now I'm singing much more often.
If I could just ask a question to even take this one step further, is that what is the meaning and the value to you of doing concerts?
Oh, right. Okay, I forgot about that. So I started doing concerts. My first experience in doing it was scary, but it was pretty exciting. When this woman Janet said I should do a second concert, then I became very concerned. Then I thought, this is terrible. I thought I was doing this one thing, I'd be finished, that's it, I've done for life. But no. And then I found that each concert brought tremendous anxiety to me. Each one, I would be crazy with anxiety. So what was that other than people are going to hear me, my particular life, what I particularly am singing about, because all of my songs are very about my experience. So that was a step in putting my real self out there. The singing lessons are on the same trajectory of you're going to sing you sing more freely and more beautifully, I'll even say, if you put your true self out there. So the music therapy and the singing lesson trajectories meet. And I go, and put myself out there. In the meantime, there's a little voice in here that says, "Wow, who wants to hear you? What the hell are you doing? Sit down, forget it, don't do this." I go out there and do it. And then comes up the next one. "Again, you're going to do this? This is ridiculous. What are you doing? Stop, knock it off. Who wants to hear you? What the hell do you think you're doing?" Go through another concert. Another concert. "What are you doing?" That goes on. And that voice has gotten smaller and smaller. But that's taken a very long time for it to get even a little smaller. Even a little smaller. And it creates a lot of anxiety, physical anxiety. I remember with one theater performance, I was with Deborah, we were warming up, and I was going to the bathroom every 3 minutes. That's how much anxiety I had. I thought, how can you go that often? You can't really go that often. That has diminished as I, myself, say, it's okay, I'm okay. I embrace myself. All right, this is who I am. I put it out there. I share it with the world. And that's what I have to do. So we work a lot with the imagination in our singing lessons. I will sometimes try to imagine my body relaxing. Deborah might give me a specific suggestion. Let your shoulders go, let your back go. I might imagine it, but sometimes what really happens is she says it, and I just let the words come in, and suddenly my back has let go. And that reminds me of a song I remember as a kid. Let me hear your body talk, your body talk. Somehow, I think my body hears her body saying something to my body, and it does it. It's a kind of funny little way how that works. But it does. It does. I get up. Oh, things feel looser. In other words, I'm not doing something. It's not a do. Do this. You can tell me to, lift, that's a do. This is not a do. This is, maybe there's a picture. But sometimes it's just her words going right in, and my body does it without me doing anything. That always makes me giggle. Really, it does. Sometimes with songs, if I think sometimes the song is very serious, or I think it's about something, yes. Yes. On a lovely night, we danced. Well, I think that's a very, romantic something. And she'll say, well, suppose it's two funny characters, or they're mice, or they're, and they're going to be dancing. Oh, well, how would they sing it? On a lovely night, we danced. They might be silly, or they might say, on a lovely night, we danced. It might be a little fast. Or it might be, we might sing something in a completely different rhythm. Ta-ta-ta-ta-ta, instead of, on a lovely night. Yeah, it just depends. All of these, there's no one way, Then, that's when you have to figure out in your lesson, if I do that, it works all the time. No. Doesn't work all the time. No. Now we're going to do ta-ta-ta-ta-ta. But another time we're going to do on a lovely night. Another time we're going to on a lovely night. Another time maybe we're going to talk it. On a lovely night. Ooh, that feels very good. I like that. I get to say it sort of, like a chant. So just a little variety of all that kind of stuff.
Sounds great. Has anyone I don't know if anyone's actually talked about the air violin.
No, Maria and I haven't done air violin so much.
All right, so that doesn't apply. That was good. I like that a lot. You know what? The imagination part of, I haven't heard that from anyone else like that, so that's unique.
Good.
Yeah. What else did you two?
What else did we say here?
Oh, come on now.
I know, you get the idea and then it goes in your head and right out again.
I asked you if you wanted to say anything more about sort of the musicianship part, but you've touched on a lot of really important stuff. So,
Okay.
I mean, do you
So-
want to talk about? Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I'm curious if we want to touch on any doubts you've had along the way. I mean, if that's even been part of your process in terms of the approach, or specific challenges that you've had, or if there's a particular story that you want to tell about a performance or lesson where it sounds like it's such an evolved process for you, which I think, of course, it is for everyone. But if there's a specific moment that you'd like to share that really stands out over the years, or a particular performance and what happened in that performance or lesson, those are the two that I have on that we haven't talked about. That I mean, you have actually, but if there's anything in addition.
So with performances, it has been a godsend that Deborah would be with me to help me get warmed up and perform. What I learned from that was,
If you want to
Sounds
oversell,
like a
sorry,
helicopter.
yeah, just started approaching.
I also wanted to ask you, since this is actually in my mind, I want to say it right now. Are you also studying now with Kinga?
No.
You do? You don't, okay. Exclusively don't. Okay.
So just stay by until feels like it's coming. That's good.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
the most important thing I've learned from the performances is just how deep the fear of showing who I am is in me. It's very deep. I spoke about that voice that goes, who wants to hear you? Nobody wants to hear you. Shut up. Shut up. Nobody wants to hear you. Get lost. Who do you think you are? That voice is not just a little chatterbox. It's a very deep feeling. And with this approach to singing and with Deborah as she is as a human being, she accepts that voice. It's there. We're going to have to meet it again and again. And we're going to have to deal with that by encouraging this coming out. Finding my true voice. Saying it, singing it. It's a big deal. It happens again and again. It isn't as if we've done it. I've conquered the voice. I've sung in a way that I was very happy with it. She was happy with it. And then it's over. It's not over. It starts again and again. But it is getting smaller. It is getting smaller, but it's not tiny. It's just a little less total paralysis and a little less noisy. I thought I would maybe say one more time my whole little history with the cancer.
Before you do that, I would like you though, in spite of what you just said, yes, but I think you should talk about the joy that you do sometimes have, like when you're in the concert.
Yes.
It is not the case. You should just say and make it clear. It's not true that you are petrified and terrified
Oh,
and
no.
in the grip of that voice throughout every single concert you do
No.
by any means.
No.
You have wonderful moments where you feel good in the concert, and what do those moments do for you?
Yes.
Good.
Yes. Okay. So there's all this beforehand. You're no good, shut up. Then there is, I'm singing. And the voice starts to sort of crumble because I'm singing and I can feel a connection with my audience, with a specific person or with the whole audience. And people are smiling and I start to feel happy. I think, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm supposed to be doing this. This is what's making me happy. I feel that in singing lessons too. This is what you have a sense of, this is what I'm supposed to be doing, or when I'm rehearsing, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. How I got here is a little miracle, but I'm here. I'm supposed to be improving my musical skills. I'm supposed to be singing. I'm supposed to be singing my song, whatever that is. And it varies. And it is joyous. It's very joyous, and it's the antidote to the dark things, the terrible things going on in the world.
Perfect.
Okay, so I thought I would just tell the whole,
You want to do that one more time?
yes, because maybe I'll be a little more concise.
Sure. I mean, I don't think there's anything. I think it's a good idea. Absolutely.
So I came to singing in an unusual way, I think. I was diagnosed with a stage 4 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. This is pretty bad. I was working at Con Edison, and I was the general manager for human resources, and I had a big corporate job. I worked an awful lot of hours a week. When I got this diagnosis, I went to several oncologists, 6 to be exact, trying to get somebody to tell me it wasn't that. I took a very analytical approach with the doctors, trying to learn as much as I could. What can you learn? In the end, they all agreed, and I found myself faced with, what am I going to do? I knew I didn't want to go for any chemotherapy. I did pray. I do believe in God. And my prayer was, God, please, if it's time to die, it's fine. I'm fine. If you're ready, I'm ready. But if you can please keep me out of the hands of the doctors. I had been through cancer with several friends, and it's horrible to have them die. It's horrible, horrible, horrible. It's a horrible death. So I didn't want that. I didn't mind dying. And when I prayed, every time I prayed, I had this thought that maybe I should sing, which seemed really strange. Why would I want to sing when I have no musical background of any kind? I like music. Everybody likes music. This was strange. So I mentioned that to my sister, who's an artist, and said, oh, this is a great idea. I thought, no, it's not a great idea. I'm going crazy. And if you think it's a great idea, you're going crazy, and this is not good. Why I pursued it, I don't know, but I did. And I went to see a singing teacher, and I went to see a singing teacher. Finally, I mentioned it to my dentist. That's pretty strange, too. And he said, oh, I'm going to get you somebody great. And when I spoke to that person, it turned out to be Alan Turry, who said, I'm a music therapist. I thought, what the heck is that? He said, I know music, I know therapy, but what are they together? When I met him, there was a kind of instant chemistry. I liked this person very much. I cried a lot. The first time I met him, actually, I didn't cry. I laughed. He had a lot of little instruments. We played. I played with them. He played piano. I laughed. But after that, the next time, I cried. And cried and cried. He asked me to bring an audio tape, because it was the day of audio tapes. And we recorded the sessions. That's the beginning of the story. That led to more sessions. At the same time, I'm going down this medical path of getting more opinions. And at some point, my main doctor at Sloan Kettering was very angry with me because I had not started the chemotherapy. And after that, I stopped seeing her. My friends thought I was a little crazy, and went instead to one of the two other doctors who thought I could wait and didn't have to start. Because I went into some they called it a partial temporary remission. She thought that was insignificant. They thought it was significant enough to tell me I could wait a month. The other doctor at Cornell thought I could wait a month, so I dropped the doctor at Sloan Kettering who said you can't wait even 2 minutes, and went with the doctors who said you can wait a month. It was in that time frame that I met this woman, Janet, who listened to tapes from these sessions with Alan and said, there's songs here. There's songs here, and you have to learn them, and you have to perform them. Which was a completely crazy idea. And the only reason I was willing to even consider it was that I was on this, well, am I going to be alive a year from now? Maybe I should try this crazy thing. So I tried this crazy thing, and I rented a piano, and I invited my friends. I sang for them. And after that, these doors began to open, one after another after another. It's a lot, one little step, and then there's another little step, then there's another little step. That's all it's been for me. You just take one little step, one little step, one little step, one little step. And finding Libero Canto and finding Deborah has been one of the big doors opening.
Very thorough. Thank you so much.
Yes.